families in your community. Blue Star Families has made it easy to do your part. Go to bluestarwelcomeweek.org to find out how. That's bluestarwelcomeweek.org.
Fall is sports season, and iHeartRadio has it all. The NFL.
Touchdown, Green Bay Packers.
MLB playoffs.
It is gone!
College football, the NHL, and NBA preseason moves are underway. From scores and reactions to interviews and hot takes, it's all at your fingertips on the iHeartRadio app.
Appreciate you taking my call, guys.
Lock in with your favorite teams with play-by-play podcasts and local stations where you can react and join the conversation. Sports on iHeartRadio, where fans live it.
On America's Crime Lab, the podcast, we're revealing the true story of the Idaho Four.
I was so frantic that morning and scared that the person who did this would come for me next.
They were struggling to identify a direction, a person of interest.
And I said, why wouldn't we work this case?
This 3-part series features never-before-heard interviews about a crime that shook the nation and the forensics lab that cracked the case wide open. Open your free iHeartRadio app, search America's Crime Lab, and listen now.
Number 1 on your car radio preset and the new and improved iHeartRadio app. WDAS and WD273D Philadelphia is Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Kicking off your Saturday the right way. You're listening to Sean Barnard live right here on The Gambler.
And what is going on, and welcome back right here on Fox Sports The Gambler. My name is Sean Barnard, and welcome back to Sean Barnard Live. The second week we're getting into action right here on Fox Sports The Gambler, and a particularly big one as we have plenty of action all across the sports carousel, as my former co-host Mark Henry Jr. used to say there. Excited to dive into it all. With me, got Luke Arcaini right off the top talking all things Phillies, and Jared Montalto, right?
Correct.
There we go. Right. Nailing the pronunciation this week around. So excited to have you. Jared, I'll start with you before we dive heavy into the Phillies world here with our guy, Luke Arcaini, who's going to be in the booth, has absolutely been crushing it from start to finish for Crossing Broad, as well as us on the station here. But Jared, how are we feeling this fine Saturday?
Pretty good. Phillies baseball. Can't wait. It's been a week too long without it, and ready for it. And then NFL tomorrow. It's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, absolutely there. And the man of the hour, the man ready to be in the booth, and the man who I'm sure is itching to talk all things Phillies right now. Luke Arcaini, how we doing?
Yeah, I'm itching for sure. No, it's good. Everything's good. Getting ready for a big one. It's I think this game is the biggest game of the entire series. I think they need to go out there, win game one, set the tone. But yeah, we're doing good. Congrats on the new show.
Yeah,
get everything rolling here. Let's do it.
Absolutely. And I want to start with this very question right here, Luke Arcaini. Is it a hyperbole to say that the team that wins this Dodgers and Phillies series will win the World Series?
Yeah, 100%.
You agree with
that? I think whoever wins this series wins the World Series, and I think whoever wins today wins this series.
Okay, so all the marbles in the middle for this one.
I really do. I think they have to go out and set the tone. They've had a week off. I know the Dodgers didn't have some big crazy gauntlet of a matchup, wild card round with those Cincinnati Reds up there with the 23 Marlins for the worst playoff team in the last 20 years. But yeah, they got to go out and just set the tone. That place is going to be rocking today. Ohtani's first playoff start. This is what a lot of people, I mean, even the Dodgers are kind of saying this feels like the World Series. And that's not any disrespect to any other team in baseball, but I think a lot of people know that the two best teams in baseball right now, and especially the two best teams in the National League, unfortunately have to face off in the NLDS. And listen, I wish this could be a World Series matchup. But the fact that this is only 5 games stinks because I think this series deserves to be 7 games. But yeah, it's a big one, man. I think today's huge. And I truly do think whoever wins today ends up winning the series.
All right, so big stakes for this matchup. Now, before we dive particularly into the specific matchup here, we did get the official roster announced for the playoff, or for the NLDS, at least for this portion of it here. Taijuan Walker on there. No super surprises, I would say, but what were your impressions of this overall roster and the biggest guy that was left off that you're surprised by?
Yeah, honestly, there really isn't one.
Okay.
I wrote up a little roster prediction I think like 2 weeks ago, and this is actually exactly what I had. It was pretty much a very square prediction this year. There really wasn't any ifs there. I mean, what the biggest one for me is, I would say Tim Meza. I think the only real, competition there was if they wanted to have a third lefty in Meza, or if they wanted to go with Lou Trevino at that sort of last reliever. They ended up going Meza to have the 3 lefties. Obviously, the left-handed relievers, I think, are some of the biggest players in this series for the Phillies, Matt Strahm and Banks. If they get into any situation, 7th inning or later, even maybe the 6th inning, and they feel like they need to go to a reliever, it's going to be Matt Strahm against Shohei Ohtani every single time. So it's big. It's big from that perspective. No real surprise from the pitchers, obviously. Banks, Luzardo, Meza, Sanchez, Strahm, Suarez for the righties, Buehler, Duran, Kerkering, Nola, Robertson, Walker. No surprise catchers, Marchand, Real Muto. Infielders, they do have Otto Kemp on the roster, who probably won't start a game, but is definitely going to have some sort of pinch hit situations throughout this series. So Bohm, Harper, Kemp, Sosa, Stott, Trey, as far as infielders. Outfielders, Bader, Castellanos, Kepler, Marsh, Wilson. I think maybe you could say the other thing was, would it be Kemp? Would it be Wilson? Would it be both? But I didn't think there was really another position player that they would take over either of those two guys. They did elect to go 14 position players and 12 pitchers. And then obviously the designated hitter in Kyle Schwarber. But no real surprises with the roster, and no real surprises with the Dodgers either. A very left-handed loaded bullpen, which I think getting into some late games here, I think Rob Thompson's going to have to find the fine line of when you have to trust Stott Marsh in that situation, but also when you have to go to a Castellanos, when you have to go to a Kemp off the bench. So I think that's really the biggest thing there, but no real surprises for the Phillies roster.
Yeah, it's pretty much as expected there. Now, Jared, where's your head at on this Phillies series? I know you're hyped up for it. I know you're excited. What's your level of confidence heading into this game?
I'm pretty confident. I kind of figured we'd see the Dodgers, whether it's now or, next round, depending on where they were going to, where the seeding was at. But I'm confident as long as they can get to the bullpen, as long as the bats are going, I feel very confident they can win this series in at least 4. Like he said, I mean, this is obviously the biggest game of the season, as it would be anyway. But, yeah, as long as the bats are going at the end of the lineup, I think that's definitely key for them to get Shohei out of there, get to the bullpen, and really get some runs going. If I had to pick any line today, I'd probably go with under at 7.5 personally. Okay. Just maybe a slow start for each of these teams with the pitching matchup. But yeah, got to get to the bullpen, and I think that we're going to be fine and move on to the next round.
Yeah, and I do think that is the biggest key, is get the Dodgers starters out of this game ASAP. That I want working counts. I want taking pitches. I want them to force them to throw as many pitches as possible. That is one of the biggest keys to this game. Now, before I dive fully into the full keys here, Luke, I did want to ask one bigger question on this Phillies team. To this point, we still do not have an official announcement for a Game 2 starter, correct?
Yes. No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so Rob Thompson is planning on announcing that today. He didn't say whether, so he didn't say. We kind of asked him multiple times to try and get it out of him, and they're not budging. I think it's going to be Jesus Luzardo in Game 2. I think Ranger goes Game 3. I think they really like Luzardo at home. Luzardo's pitched a lot better at home. He feeds off the crowd. He knows Citizens Bank now. And I think they know Ranger's not as afraid of any moment. And I think they'd rather throw Ranger in a Dodger Stadium Game 3 rather than Luzardo. It's not set in stone. I mean, it could be Ranger, but I think because they're holding it out so long, I think that leads me to believe that it's probably Jesus Luzardo for Game 2 on Monday night.
Interesting. Is there any chance it could be Aaron Nola?
I don't think so. I don't think in this series. I do think there is a situation where Nola could find his way into a game. I think if a guy like Luzardo goes out there and he looks good, but maybe not great, and it feels like a big inning for the Dodgers is coming off of a lefty, I think they could maybe have a bit of an early hook on Luzardo and maybe try to get maybe 2 innings out of Nola. I think they trust their starters, though. Like I think they trust Sanchez. I think they trust Luzardo, and I know they trust Ranger. I think the biggest thing is in years past, I think Rob Thompson in the postseason has had a little bit of a hook on his starters, which I think when you get there, I think you have to. I think if you watch the Red Sox Yankees game 3 the other night, the rookie that the Red Sox threw out was cruising through the first couple innings, and the Red Sox ran through some errors and just some bad defense, and he walked a guy. And I thought that was a situation where I think Alex Cora should have went and got a rookie out of there in a do or die game, and he kind of just left him out to die. Rob Thompson doesn't leave his starters out there to die. If he needs to go to a Strom in the 5th inning to get Ohtani out, I don't think it's off the table. I think that the biggest matchup, and I've said this all week, is the Dodgers top of the lineup the 3rd time around.
Okay.
I think, the goal of most of your starters is to get through the lineup twice. If they're cruising, they can start it. But, if you get a 2-1 Phillies lead and with 2 outs in the 6th inning and it's Ohtani at the plate, 2 on, 2 outs, I think they go to Strom there. I think they go to Strom whenever Ohtani's up late in the game. I think they have to. So I think that's kind of a big one there. But back to the original. Nothing yet for game 2. I think I lean Luzardo, though.
Do you think that answer changes depending on the result of game 1, or is this something that it's just gamesmanship? They already have it in their pocket?
No, I think they have it set. He's made it seem like whether win or loss, they're sticking with their game 2 starter. I don't think anything would change based off of today. The reason that, and I think it'll be very telling today, and obviously you'll know, if you see a Luzardo or Suarez possibly get tossed into a bullpen role today, you know who throws game 2. I don't think that's the case just because the bullpen's fresh. But, say, God forbid, Sanchez went out there and could only go 4 innings. Maybe there's a scenario where they would go to Ranger in the 5th and maybe try and get an inning or 2 out of Ranger. And then you would obviously know Luzardo would be the game 2 starter. But, nothing set in stone. I don't think anything changes whether they win or lose. But I do think it is going to be Luzardo.
Okay, interesting. Now, I got a couple keys to today's game that I would love to hear your thoughts on, and if you have any to add yourself. Number 1, Christopher Sanchez needs to pitch like the ace that he is. That I want one of these storylines of this entire MLB playoffs to be walk away with Christopher Sanchez is one of the best damn pitchers in baseball because he's exactly that. And I don't think he has quite that respect yet. I do think for them to have any chance in tonight's game in particular, you're going to have to go toe-to-toe with Shohei Ohtani. That's how this game script has to play out. I think Christopher Sanchez is 100% capable of doing that. On the other side of that pitching matchup, and I kind of hinted at this already, you got to get Shohei Ohtani out of this game, man. Get to that Dodgers bullpen, and then this lineup can eat. That is how I see things playing out. But there comes, that kind of is not an overlapping strength with this Phillies team. We know this team likes to hack away, likes to chase pitches, likes to get their hacks up there at the plate. They need to be patient. They need to take pitches. They need to force counts. Get Shohei Ohtani out of this game at all costs there. I'll start with those 2 there. And do you have any sort of expectation for what the pitch count will be with Shohei Ohtani? This is the guy they've been careful for. Does he get free range come playoff time?
Nobody really knows. Okay. And I think that's kind of the mystery right now. If he gets through 5 innings with 89 pitches, do they bring him out for the 6th? Do they not? I don't know.
I would think you have to, right?
I would think you have to. But Dave Roberts has also been a little weird with his managing of the pitching in the playoffs over the last few years. I think that, I don't expect Ohtani to go out and throw 120 pitches into the 7th inning. But I think his leash is longer than it's been. Obviously, they've been building him back up. I think the game he pitched against us, he only threw 61.
No hitter.
But then his last start of the season, don't remind me. His last start of the season, I think he threw 90 against the Diamondbacks. So, I think it's in there, obviously, but I don't think they're going to run this guy 120 pitches. But yeah, I mean, listen, man, Christopher Sanchez has shown that he's up there. You know, he may not be Scooble and Skeens and Crochet, but you know, he's first in the National League in WAR for a reason. And he's unbelievable at home. That their record over the last 2 years, game record with him at home is I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's an absurd number. And I think not that he's getting disrespected, because I think people are starting to realize who Christopher Sanchez is, like, nationally now. But you know, I think a lot of people see this game, and if you're on this game from a general betting perspective and you're not big into the Dodgers and you're not big into the Phillies, I think you're going to look at the pitching matchup and be like, oh, it's Ohtani, boom, done. Well, I don't think that's the case. And it's funny because I think with Wheeler, I think the Phillies have the rotation advantage. I think without Wheeler, I think it's probably an extremely slight edge to the Dodgers, just because they have the Blake Snell, they have the Glasnow, even though I think Tyler Glasnow's a fraud.
Pitching tomorrow, right?
Probably. Okay. Unless they would use him out of the bullpen today after Ohtani, which I think is definitely an option. But we rock Tyler Glasnow. I'm not worried about him. Obviously they have Yamamoto, but I think it's really funny because if you see Ohtani on the mound, everyone's like, oh, Shohei, obvious pitching advantage. I actually think the Phillies have the pitching advantage today because you don't know what you're going to get from Ohtani. It's his first playoff start. He's sort of been on a pitch count. You know, Ohtani into the bank in this environment, I don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, I think we see how Ohtani's played, and everyone's just like, yeah, he'll rise to the occasion. He'll go strike out 11 in 6 innings and be fine. I don't know if that's the case. So, you know, I lean Sanchez today. And I think after today, I think nationally, I think Sanchez is going to continue to get the love that he deserves.
Yeah, I think so too. Jared, anything for you on those, or any keys that you would like to add beyond that?
I do want to ask Luke, how do you feel about Trey Turner? Obviously, he only played one game Sunday to get back into it. Do you think there's going to be any rust for him, or do you think he's going to be, you know, in that, you know, top hitter back in his form?
Yeah, I mean, I think there could definitely be some rust, just because he hasn't, you know, really played full game in a while. I will say Wednesday night's scrimmage, I thought the timing looked completely normal. It didn't look, he didn't have a ton of hits, but the swing timing, I think, in a game like that is more important than where the ball is going. So he looked fine. He didn't really get a situation to fully sprint down to first base, which I think that's the biggest thing. Because last year, and I know Trey talked about this himself, a lot of the defense last year, I think, had a lot to do with Trey's hamstring. He wasn't getting comfortable out at shortstop, like he couldn't get down all the way, kind of thing. And I think one of the reasons for his defense this year was because he was fully healthy. And yes, he worked on his defense a ton in the offseason. I think having a fully 100% healthy body, it can't hurt you on defense. So as far as the Trey thing, I think he's fine. He's definitely going to be hitting leadoff. They made it a key that I understand Harrison Bader hit 400 for 2.5 weeks, but once he ruled. Granted, he has cooled off a lot recently. Yeah. But we're not leaving Harrison Bader in the leadoff spot and not putting the guy that just won the batting title for the first time in 70 years as a Philly not back in the leadoff spot. So I think he's going to be back in the leadoff spot today.
All right, I got 2 more questions for you here, Luke. For starters, where did the runs come from tonight? Who is the guy that etches their name in Phillies baseball history to get this series started, right? Because I kind of got a feeling in my plums right now that Harrison Bader is going to be one of those guys.
It could be. I think it's Bryce. I really do. And I think it's a chalk answer. But I mean, this guy lives for this moment, and I feel like you hear that every time you talk about the postseason, but it couldn't be more true. He lives for the moment. He has a top 10 OPS in the history of baseball in the postseason.
That's nuts.
It's just ridiculous. And Schwarber's not that far behind him either, which is even more crazy. So, you know, I think if you want to go out and you want to power through a game one and you want to beat Ohtani, I think it has to be those two guys. But my bigger key to this series is the 4 through 9 of this Phillies lineup. What do you get? If Schwarber and Harper are getting on, but it's not always the home run, Alec Boehm has to drive these guys in. Brandon Marsh has to drive these guys in. Harrison Bader, what do you get from Stott out of basically that like second leadoff spot there for the 9 hole? Do you get June and July Real Muto, or do you get September JT? Right. I think that's the biggest thing, because if both offenses are firing on all cylinders, I give the edge to the Phillies just because I think they have a better depth down there. And I think the Dodgers have some pretty good depth too. I love Andy Pius. I love Kike Hernandez. Those guys are both big time guys in the playoffs. Max Muncy, is probably their 5th best hitter, and he's really good. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, is today just feels like a Bryce day. And, whether he goes out and he crushes one off Ohtani in the first inning, or it's a big double in the 3rd inning, man, if Harper or Schwarber hit one off Ohtani in the first inning, that place is going to explode.
Not played since that first inning on the 27th. Now he drives the 0-2 deep to right field. Barger at the wall. It's gone again. Solo homer for Harper in his first at-bat back. And the Phillies go back-to-back to make it 3-0 in the first.
I do hope we are hearing that exact sound later today. Now, I do have one final question for you, Luke Arcaini, and one that I think comes with a bit of controversy right here. So to set this up.
Oh, God.
Is it bad? Is it bad?
No, I don't think so. No.
You don't think so? We're retiring dancing on my own?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know because we haven't done it.
Anything, yeah.
If they win today, I don't think it'll be played in the stadium. I think it could be played in the clubhouse, maybe. But man, I'll tell you what, I was not expecting that out of you. I don't think so. I think while I loved that song and I hated the hate that it got, I really do think this team is just a little moved. And I think they're just in a different vibe right now.
Interesting.
And I think bringing Bader in and I feel like all year it's been second that Harper hits a milestone. But we're trying to win the World Series. Schwarber hits 4 home runs in a game, and the first thing he talks about is the team trying to win the World Series. Like I think they're a little past it. Listen, if it comes on, I'm not going to be complaining. I would lean probably you don't hear it if they win today.
Interesting. I do think there is a more business-like approach that we've seen from this team this year, and that is something that carries out. But I would not be mad whatsoever if there's a big victory and you walk in the locker room and start hearing coming down.
Listen, I told you I'm not opposed, but I don't know. I would probably lean no.
We'll get you out of here on this, Luke Arcaini. Do you have a score prediction, or do you want to stay away for the sake of your journalistic integrity there?
6-3 Phillies.
6-3 Phillies. Love it. Love it. Luke Arcaini, I appreciate you taking some time to hop on with us. Jared, any final thoughts for Luke before we get you rolling?
No, go Phillies.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Let's do it, boys.
Awesome. Well, you take it easy. Best of luck in the press row tonight, taking care of business, getting all the quotes we need to see there. So make sure everyone is tapped into Luke Arcaini on all things for Crossing Broad, for us on Fox Sports The Gambler, and of course on his Twitter there. So Luke, I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully that next time we were talking, it is about a 1-0 Phillies series lead there.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys. Go Phils.
Awesome. Catch you, Luke. And that'll be it for Luke Arcaini. We're going to keep cruising on me and Jared right here on Fox Sports The Gambler there. So obviously a lot has been paid, a lot of attention rightfully being paid to the Phillies playoff here. We got a whole lot else going on in the sports carousel as well, Jared. We got a nice Sixers preseason basketball game on the TV right now. Yeah. I know that's exactly what the people of Philadelphia are fired up. But I got to say, we got a VJ Edgecombe poster out here. Not looking bad. I've been encouraged. Any thoughts there?
If they can stay healthy, that's the biggest thing. And that's been the biggest thing in, Embiid's era in Philly. They have the talent for sure, but can they stay on the court? The best ability is availability.
So that's what y'all want to see, huh?
That is what they say. I'm not a fan of that quote there. I'm an anti the best ability is availability guy. Because look, you can Paul Reed has played 82 games. You want him over Joel Embiid? I just am not quite there in the same conversation. I do want to talk Quentin Grimes though. The biggest storyline with the Sixers team, really of the entire offseason, has been this impending free agency with Quentin Grimes, who was a restricted free agent. Obviously, he came over to the Sixers midseason and really was the saving grace of the second half of the year. Originally signed Caleb Martin in free agency there. Was not working out. Caleb Martin, his shoulder entirely broken during his time here in Philadelphia, to the point where they had to add draft capital to even make a trade happen and allow this deal to go through. And then, of course, Grimes being unsigned here. Now, I think the immediate reaction from most of Philadelphia is frustration that it was the qualifying offer being picked up, a 1-year, $8.7 million deal, which leads him to being an unrestricted free agent next summer there. I don't feel quite the same way. Now, before I make my full case, what was your immediate impressions of this, Jared? I know we've talked about this a bit before, but now that the dotted line has been signed, what's your feelings on Grimes in the 1-year deal?
He's betting on himself, like you said earlier. I mean, he could have maybe got paid more a little elsewhere, but he decides, ask for $30 million, trying to negotiate some more money out of him. He signs for, you said 8.7. So he's just betting on himself. And if the roster does stay healthy, does he, fade out in a role and then next year maybe not get a biggest contract as he would have wanted? But yeah, that's completely on him and on the Sixers. Obviously, there's, behind the scenes stuff we have no idea about. But for a guy asking for $30 million, in a role that, you might not be getting a ton of production for, it's just not worth it, especially when you're paying guys like Embiid and Paul George insane amount of money. There's just not enough cap room to go all around.
Yeah, and that's the big factor here. The point that you mentioned, which I think is my thesis here, is I think this is a far bigger risk for Quentin Grimes than it is for the Sixers directly here. And the reason that I say that is this is a bet on yourself contract, as you mentioned. That the way the restricted free agency works is he said the downside of restricted free agency from a player standpoint is you're not in the free market here, that the team is allowed to match any offer sent your direction. And he didn't want those sort of boundaries set up. So he said, rather than signing in a case where I can really only reach a long-term agreement with the Philadelphia 76ers, I will take the 1-year contract. I will take the $8.7 million and then see myself out likely next offseason. I do think the most likely outcome here is Quentin Grimes does walk at the end of the season. I also think it's set in stone that he plays the entirety of this year in a Philadelphia 76ers uniform. For starters, he has a no-trade clause that he can ultimately veto any offer that he's talked about here. The bigger factor is because he's on the books for $8.7 million, if he's traded, the bird rights will not carry with him, and he's locked in, meaning the maximum he could make next year to a team that re-signs him would be roughly over $10 million. For a guy that was just talking about $30 million literally 2 weeks ago here, I don't think that's flying. Now, granted, he can become a full-scale free agent and sign whatever contract that he does command here, but that still locks him into being in Philadelphia for this year. With that in mind, when you take a peek at the Sixers roster, there is Tyrese Maxey, there is Jared McCain, there is VJ Edgecombe, who all play the guard position and all they're significantly more invested in from the Sixers organization directly. Tyrese Maxey has been an all-star, is on a max contract. VJ Edgecombe was just selected with the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Jared McCain was the runaway rookie of the year before he got hurt last year. Those are 3 guys that you have significant amounts invested in compared to Quentin Grimes, who essentially you got off the scrap heap and it is on his 4th NBA team in 4 years. With that in mind, what is stopping the Sixers from prioritizing those guys' minutes? This isn't even limiting the potential earnings of this guy. This is prioritizing the guys we're more invested in. Your thoughts on that?
The kid can obviously play. I mean, yeah, if he was somewhere else, he'd probably have a bigger role. But here, you don't know what you're going to get. Just like I said, you don't know who's going to stay healthy. Jared McCain's obviously going to miss some time, so he's going to get minutes in the beginning of the season. We'll see how he performs with, Paul George alongside him and Embiid alongside him. But like you said, you have no idea. What do you expect his numbers to be, throughout the season if he does stay a Sixer for the entirety of the season?
Yeah, and I do like Quentin Grimes. I do think Quentin Grimes is a good basketball player. I don't think he's a $30 million per year basketball player in the way that he believes he is. I don't even think he's a $20 million per year basketball player. I think the best case scenario and most likely scenario for Quentin Grimes is he's like a 4th or 5th starter on a contending team. And that's a good player. That is not like an insulting thing there.
No.
But I don't see this untapped potential the way I think some people are talking themselves into. If anything, I would make a far more convincing case for a guy like Jared McCain, who we saw 23 games of and absolutely popped to me, compared to a guy with Quentin Grimes, who's been in the league for 4 years, and we sort of have a sample size for what this guy is. Now, granted, he made the most of the most basketball freedom that he's ever had during the second half of the year with the Sixers, and I think there's something to go with, like, okay, maybe there's a more on-ball creation or ball in his hand type things there, but this all boils back to me. I also don't think the Sixers just wanted to make another long-term commitment, that they've already made the all-in bet.
Way too many.
That was last year. We're giving all this money to Paul George. We're giving Joel Embiid the extension. Tyrese Maxey's got his max. We're bringing in Caleb Martin. This team is going to contend. They won 24 games last year. Are you just going to double down on that and say Grimes is going to be a huge part of this core, which maybe he will be, or let's see how good this team actually is. Like, there's no expectations for this year. I think agreeing to another long-term contract here, there's risk in that as well.
It would be dumb. Why make the same mistake twice? You know what, Paul George, he was hurt. You just don't want to pay all these guys when you have younger talent in the room on the books for a whole lot less money.
Right.
And you don't want to delay these guys, the production and their growth by sitting them behind Quentin Grimes just because you're going to pay him so much money. It's just stupid. It's not smart for the Sixers by any means, because that timeline of Embiid being, one of these top guys in the NBA could very well go downhill very, very quick.
Could be over.
Yeah, at any time. And I said past few years, I don't think he has more than 5 years of his prime left just because he can't stay on the court, which is, sucks because he is a generational talent. He is a guy that, should be able to win a championship as the main guy. But personally, I just don't see it unless these young guys like VJ, McCain can stay healthy and, really take that role behind Maxey as elevating this team, even if Embiid isn't what he was prior to this.
Yeah, and a couple final thoughts before we switch up. I'm sorry, Andrew, you are right. Talking some Sixers on a Phillies playoff does feel like a Cardinal sin, and we got some NFL to highlight as well. But to put kind of a bow on this, the other part of that is, what if you do give Grimes this long-term contract, and then from day one, VJ Edgecombe's just better than him? Like, that is
dumb.
A possibility. And then what do you do? So I kind of get it. And the end of the day, he's playing for the Sixers for $8.7 million. This was a guy who was asking for 30, and he's under contract. And you can have these exact same negotiations at the end of the summer. Could you point to the feelings could be hurt? He didn't love how this go. I'm sure that's all valid. At the end of the day, money talks, man. Like, if this is a guy that they want to keep around, they are still going to be in the driver's seat for retaining him. And I just don't see a world where there's going to be a team bending over backwards to get Quentin Grimes at a monetary level that no other team is going to match there. So we'll see how it plays out. But I did think the immediate reaction was to get those pitchforks out, rush and chase Daryl Morey out of town. And I just don't quite think that is how these negotiations played out. I think the Sixers got offended by that $30 million mark there. I do wish there was more of a clearer effort to get him on a long-term contract, but I also understand why they were not headed down that path there. So that's kind of my final thoughts. Did at least want to bring that up on Quentin Grimes. Anything else to add?
Yeah, pretty much just piggybacking off you. I understand it from both sides. Him wanting more money, he balled out at the end of the season, but, the Sixers want to keep their young guys. They have what they have. They drafted them. There's a reason they did, and they want to build through them. So I understand not paying a guy, but, who knows? Maybe he contributes 15 points per game, and this all works out with the young guys both, having an equal amount of minutes and, maybe a Sixers championship.
Yeah, 100% there. And, of course, we've talked some Phillies. Now we've talked some Sixers.
I know I'm better than this. I know. I'm just praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes.
So let's get it over to the gridiron right here. Talk a little football. We do have a limited show today, as Villanova will be popping on early. Make sure to stay tuned for the Villanova Coaches Show coming live at 12:30 for the pregame action there. And of course, Villanova taking on their game today. So that will be live on the Fox Sports Philadelphia airwaves right here at 102.5. But to bring it to the field itself here, Jared, you come from a Cowboys background here.
Yes,
you were a Cowboys fan.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you entered asking my concerns about this Eagles team. So I wanted to start there for the conversation. You clearly have some concerns with this Eagles team. I'm not saying they're flawless right now, but I want to hear from a, opponent's perspective here. What are your concerns for this team?
So just like
the
I
4-0 Eagles, I might add.
Yes, 4-0. Congrats on that.
Super Bowl, defending Super Bowl champions.
Correct.
Have not lost a game in a calendar year that Jalen Hurts has started and finished. Go ahead.
Tip your cap. Big W's. But, I said this during the 2023 season, and a lot of people have said this is completely different than the problems that they faced back then. But you still got to take in consideration as these are ongoing issues that they have week after week, and they haven't put a full game together. And to their credit, they're still winning games. So that is, great. Because once this team does put it all together, they can be legit. But right now, just the lingering issues with the run game, Saquon not, performing like a lot of people thought he would. And that, tends to happen after a 2K yard season, all that, wear and tear on your body. AJ Brown not getting in, his production like he wants. That's an ongoing issue since his tenure, and it's a wide receiver thing. I completely get it.
Definitely.
Being a wide receiver in my college and high school days, you want the ball, you want to contribute because you can win as many games as you want. But if you feel like you're not contributing, you're going to feel some type of way. He's making $30 million. He needs to get the ball. I understand. The offensive line, has looked shaky. We don't know about the injuries right there. But I said it in the past few weeks, they very well could be, like 1-3 right now. If CD catches the ball, they could lose to Dallas. They don't get that block on the Rams on the field goal. They could be, lose that game. And you can say that about any single one-score football game in the world. But at what point are you not concerned where you're not dominating teams when you have this type of talent on the roster? Don't you want to be legit and, beat some of these worst teams up? Like Dallas, obviously their defense sucks, 32 in the NFL. Why is your, top offense not putting up 30-plus points to get them with ease, just cruising to a W? I mean, I feel like that would be a concern if I was an Eagles fan. And yeah, the AJ Brown stuff would concern me for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world that I think that, the offense is humming at a little bit of a level that we have not seen to this point. The A.J. Brown stuff, I think, is mostly a non-story. You're absolutely right that it's a wide receiver thing, and this is an A.J. Brown thing. That This is not the first time we've seen A.J. Brown have a little bit, and I get it from his perspective. I also think the dude was targeted 9 times last week, and I saw the Emmanuel Acho film breakdown that he was calling them here damn throws of just like take it, like here's it. Yeah. I didn't feel that way. Like I think that there was certainly like in the second half a clear focus to get AJ Brown the football because of all these very reasons and because he's helpful for the team. And I think like that was a focus there. I don't know. It will come. There will be an A.J. Brown 200-plus yard receiving game this season. That will happen. There will be a game where Jalen Hurts absolutely airs it out and lets everyone know.
So that's what y'all want to see, huh?
I'm looking forward to that. That will happen this season. There will be those moments. At the end of the day, they're still 4-0 in my mind, and I can live with the growing pains of that. The Saquon thing, I actually honestly think is a bigger deal than the wide receiver stuff, which people have brought up.
Yep.
I think the honest answer here is dudes are just beat up. The offensive line in particular, I know Mailata was pretty open about this on his show this week, speaking about typically after a season, it takes me 2-3 weeks and my body's kind of back. It was all the way through training camp before I felt like I was 100% this year because of the grind.
Happens with a long season. I mean.
Absolutely there. And I think Saquon, beyond just him, the production not being there, he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage at a rate that it looks like the Giants days. And that's not what we want to see. So I think this is mostly an offensive line issue. But that's something that I hold, and I would say a larger concern to me.
No teams have more negative runs than the Eagles so far this season through 4 games. And you're winning ball games like that. But there's going to come a time where defenses are like, okay, we're going to be able to stop this for 4 quarters straight, and you're not going to be able to get any production on offense. So I feel bad for Saquon just because as many hits as he's taken in his career and he's been injured. You would hate to see him go down because after that, it's not looking good after that.
Yeah, but we're not there yet. We're not going to get too panicked about this. Taking on the Denver Broncos this week. I feel pretty good about this one. I think Bo Nix has looked really frightening.
Average.
Yeah, average is a good way to put it. I think the decision making has really regressed in a way. I'm feeling confident. I think the Quinyon Mitchell versus Pat Surtain sort of semi matchup is going to be something that's entertaining to watch. As I think Quinyon has very clearly made his case for being one of the best corners in the NFL. Looking at the odds on DraftKings Sportsbook, the Eagles favored by 4.5 points, -225 on the money line. The over under 43.5. Any feeling on that, Jared?
I would probably take the under. I think it's the defensive battle. I think both defenses are pretty legit. Denver ranks 4th in points allowed, 10th in total yards, and 4th in rushing yards allowed. So I think Jalen's going to have to move the ball through the air this week, and he's going to have to force some tight windows, which he has not done so far this season and hasn't done a lot in his career at all. So you're going to have to look for AJ. You're going to have to look for Devontae to get them the ball. And, the best way to get these guys happy again and, loving their quarterback is get them the ball in tight coverage, let them make plays, get in space, and especially versus Surtain, one of the best corners, if not the best corner in the league, I can see A.J. Brown having a big game against him and, saying after post game, like, just give me the ball and this is what I do.
Yeah. And there's also I'm hoping that this is a man coverage, Pat Surtain, A.J. Brown game. And I feel great about those odds. That, to be fair to Jalen, there's been a whole lot of shell coverage, a whole lot of zone, a whole lot of contain of just sitting back and not allowing the over the top balls, especially in the early weeks 1 and 2. I thought that was especially evident there. But let's bring it over to your boys there. How about them boys, the Dallas Cowboys? Now, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a complimentary take here. I think Dak Prescott's playing the best football of his career. I've been incredibly impressed by the level that he's producing at. I also think George Pickens, the list of wide receivers better than George Pickens is a whole lot slimmer than people believe there. Where are you at on your Cowboys outlook right
now? Pretty similar to how I thought in the beginning of the season. I knew the defense wasn't amazing. I knew the offense would be pretty damn good, and Cowboys ranked first in offense, 32 in defense.
Yep.
Offensively, I've loved what I've seen from Javonte Williams through these first 4 weeks. He resurged his career. He truly has. And thanks to Clayton Adams, the ROC offensive line coach in Arizona prior to the season, he has got them rolling on the offensive line, especially with so many moving parts. Tyler Guyton's been hurt. Tyler Booker's been hurt. And the continuity is there. And it's a relief to see that on offense. Obviously, Dak, I've known what Dak is in his career. He is a top 10 guy. He's in the conversation
on the back end. On the back end of the top 10.
I'm standing on he's top 10. Top 5 guy right now in the league.
Wow.
Nothing he does surprises me because I think he is that great of a quarterback. He was getting the ball out quick against the Packers. Micah, he had his pressures, whatever. He had that one, so-and-so sack. But he was getting the ball out quick. The offense looked great. George Pickens has stepped up in that number 1 role phenomenally, and that's what you give up a 3rd-round pick for, and they should pay him after the season. But defensively, it is bad. Eberflus has not got this defense to what it should be because there is talent over there. I don't think there's much talent as there should be. We're playing a lot of zone. It is our 3rd DC in the past 3 seasons, which, you don't have that continuity going year after year. The zone hurts a lot, in my opinion. Jack Sanborn at linebacker cannot cover a soul. Kenneth Murray is not good in space. Trayvon Diggs has played so good in man, and then you completely abandon that in his skill.
He's just a gambler. You just got to kind of live with the highs and lows of that.
Yeah, but if he's not good in zone, why are you going to make him run zone throughout every single game this season? Let him work in what he does best. Put him in man. Deron Bland's been on the outside. He's better in the nickel. There's so many things from a coaching aspect that they can fix and can tighten his defense up a little bit. They're obviously not healthy either. There's just so many moving parts defensively. I think they're going to lose games strictly because of that defense. They should have beat the Packers. Dak had a phenomenal game, and, you end that with a tie. It is a damn shame that happened. But I'm confident in this offense. They can compete with anyone offensively. Defensively, though, they suck. That's simple as that.
Yeah. Trayvon Diggs, I'll dig in there real quick. Do you think he's a good corner? Because I straight up don't.
So back when he had his 12 interception season, there's no denying that he's a great corner.
He's an interception merchant.
Yes. But I think his ACL, injury definitely put him back behind the 8 ball, and it does take a while to recover from that.
Yeah.
They say it takes 2 to 3 years, just like Javonte Williams is now finally, back to his rookie self, you think. Yeah, he's not as good as he was in prior years. I think he's definitely on a decline. But I think if we go back to a man coverage on the outside, I think you'll see a step up in production, and you'll see more glimpses of his old self. But if we stay in zone, he's just not a good zone corner. And that's, I guess you can fault him a little bit, but you got to fault Eberflus at the same time for not using his guys in the correct way.
Yeah, that's fair there. I just think I've never been a Trayvon Diggs guy that I think you obviously will get the highlights, the interceptions, the turnovers. You're also going to see him getting burned quite often.
He is a gambler.
Yeah, he is. You got to live with the highs and lows.
Yep.
It's just not my style of corner there, but
I get it.
Whatever. We'll leave that one for the time being. I'm not a Trayvon Diggs guy. Never have been even at his peak there. I did want to ask a little bit about the Micah Parsons situation. I was underwhelmed by Micah in a Packers jersey in that I was ready for this to be a statement performance of him making his impact felt all over the field. Did not leave the game feeling that way whatsoever. What was your thoughts watching that?
First, I want to give Tyler Guyton his flowers. For a guy that everyone, hated so much in his rookie season, he has had a hell of a second year at left tackle. He's hurt right now, but he knows Micah, so he knows his tendencies, but he was locked up for most of the game. Yeah. And like you said, Dak was getting the ball out quick because if he wasn't, Micah was going to be able to get there. He doesn't look right in a Packers jersey, in my opinion. It looks weird. I don't like it. I think he regrets the decision of asking for a trade. I think he wishes he was still in Dallas.
That's the weird part about all this is it didn't feel like either side wanted this to happen.
No, they didn't. And I think a lot of it was his agent, David Mulgada, saying, let's go get this extra $7 million per year instead of staying where we're loved at, where we're wanted at. He was just at a Texas Fair on his bye week in Dallas. So I think he loves it there. I think he is a true Dallas Cowboy. It's a shame he went to a Packers, a team that I absolutely hate just because they have broken my heart so many times. I think he's going to be great there. I think he's still on, an all-pro path this season. But yeah, Dallas locked him up for the most part. I was very impressed with that because I definitely thought he would come out with at least 3 sacks in that game.
That was my full expectations as well. And I know we talked a lot about the defensive shortcomings. I did wonder if this crossed you or Jerry Jones's mind. Did you think with all the defensive concerns to maybe not trade a all-pro caliber defensive end?
So I think obviously that's a big thing. And I said that, after we gave up, a ton of points to Caleb Williams and the Bears. Mm-hmm. I still think we get 40 hung up on us in this Packers game with or without him. Okay. There's just so many holes around that defense. Obviously, the best pass rusher in the league on your defense helps immensely, helps the ball get out of their guys' hands quicker. But I don't think one guy is going to change this defense. There's just too many holes for me to say, Micah's going to make this defense an average defense at best. I just don't think that would change.
Yeah, that's probably fair there. That one guy does not make up a unit in that way, but I do think it would be more beneficial than probably is currently the case.
But you also get 2 draft picks next 2 years, see what they can do. And obviously, the Packers have not gotten off to a start they would have liked. A lot of people said they would be 4-0 at this point, sitting at 2-1-1. Obviously, that tough loss to the Browns. But, maybe that pick's, around 20, maybe a little lower, hopefully.
Yeah. We shall see there. I got a couple more football quick hitters before we wrap up with some Phillies conversation here. Another overseas game getting our action kicked off at 9:30 a.m. Are you pro or con, or I guess for or against the early morning starts?
So I'm kind of conflicted because it is cool watching a 9:30 game overseas, but it's usually such a bad product. These guys
will be tomorrow.
Yeah, I would assume Cleveland Vikings is not very intriguing in my opinion, especially with a rookie quarterback and then Carson Wentz on the opposite side of the ball. Definitely not what the NFL expected in the week 5 here.
I had full Carson Wentz PTSD last week too.
Really?
Man. It was like I remember watching him play exactly like this, where he's just running around, running for his life, not quitting on a play, throwing it up for grabs.
It's an experience, is it not?
Oh, it is. It is. I was like shivering on the couch, being like, I remember this. This was not fun. So shout out Minnesota. You enjoy that.
Yeah, it's going to be hard waking up for that game. Try to watch that. So we'll see if we catch the second half at all. If I want to watch it in the slightest. But yeah, the overseas games I can't truly get behind. I don't think it's right on the players, just their bodies going overseas.
And back to back from Minnesota.
Yeah,
man.
They've been over there for 2 weeks without their family, different food obviously over there, just the jet lag. I can't imagine that being a fun experience, especially mid-season, knowing you have, 14 weeks left. So yeah, I'm against it personally. I get it from an NFL standpoint, trying to, worldwide this NFL brand, but not for me.
Yeah, money talks, so that's why this is happening. That's why it's going to continue to happen, that this is only the tip of the iceberg for that. I'll also note Minnesota, not only have they been overseas for 2 weeks, but they played in Dublin last week, and they're playing in London this week. So, yes, that's still overseas. That's not like you're, settled in one spot by any means. You're still moving around. So, yeah, feel kind of bad for them. I do think Minnesota takes care of business. I'm not a Dylan Gabriel believer. I think, he'll look better than Flacco has because the bar is pretty much on the floor.
Not that hard.
But yeah, any quick thoughts on the Shedeur Sanders saga, the miming that did go down as I will give the hat tip. I'm surprised the immediate reaction is not, this dude absolutely crushed it as a mime impression because he did well. But what are your thoughts on going about it that way?
I did like the mime impression, but just not a good look. After everything that's going on in the past few months, I think that is the last thing you need to do, especially from a media aspect of these guys are going to continue to rip you. They're going to say, this is why you're not the starter. This is why you're not going to be an NFL quarterback, a starter in the NFL. And I think it does more bad than good, in my opinion. I think he will start at some point in this season. I don't think Gabriel is the real deal, but
me neither.
I just don't see this being a positive in his light for doing this. Funny though. Funny. I will give it that. It was funny.
It is funny. I don't see what the win is for Shador. Honestly, I think what the win is because he's going to keep doing like the influencer personality type thing. And there is a world where that might be more beneficial to him than football.
He's going to rage bait the media.
Yes.
That is what he's going to do.
And by the way, it takes one team to watch that and say, that was pretty funny. I kind of like that this guy's keeping his swagger through it. So there's pros and cons to all of that. But I did want to make note of that. I do think it's a relatively light slate from NFL wide. Cowboys, Jets, you said you don't feel particularly confident about that matchup, correct?
Only because the Jets have, they're 0-4. They have lost their 4 games, but they have been in these games too. Like they were competing with Miami. They were competing with the Steelers a few weeks ago. Justin Fields is going to run all over the Dallas defense. And, there's a chance that he looks like an all-pro quarterback against this defensive secondary. That's the only worry for me. I know they're going to hang points up. I know Aaron Glenn is a defensive-minded coach, so there's a little pushback on that, but I still think Dak and George Pickens go out there and do their thing with Javonte Williams in the backfield. So I am thinking it's going to probably be closer than I want it to be. I do think they pull it out somehow, but closer than it should be expected.
Interesting. We'll see how that plays out. I don't think this Jets team is dead. I think Aaron Glenn is going to continue, getting into them. And there was apparently
it's going to take a while, but yes.
I mean, it's just stupid stuff, man. They keep shooting themselves in the foot. The Brees Hall quote that came out, which made its round, which I hope this is okay for everybody. It said that people keep shooting themselves in the foot, and we come back and shoot ourselves in the head, which a pretty bleak quote, but he's spot on about it. That's exactly what they have been doing. So yeah, a good quote from Brees Hall. I did like the way he put that there. But let's swing it back to baseball. This is about Red October. This is that day. And forget what Luke Arcaini said is I think that this song is here to stay. I think this is the one still. I better hear this in the locker room. You're feeling confident, Jared. I like that out of you. I like that we're feeling full scale confident heading into this.
Mm-hmm.
What's your score prediction for today?
Like I said, I think it's going to be under 7.5. I would say probably 4-1 Phillies. Maybe 3-1. I don't think there's going to be a ton of runs scoring. I just think Shohei is going to come out and, be pretty dominant through the first couple innings, first rounds through the lineup. I think Sanchez is going to dominate throughout. You just hope the bats get going at some point to get Shohei out of there within the first 5 innings, hopefully. Get to that bullpen, get some runs. I like a guy like Bader, like Marsh to, get an RBI, make their presence felt, and see the bank be electric this evening.
That is one guarantee, is the bank will be electric this weekend. I got a couple other takes I got to get off. For starters, Christopher Sanchez, it's going to be a gem. It's going to be a double-digit strikeout type of gem. Let me throw together a little quick DraftKings same-game parlay to get in the spirit of this. And then I got a speech I got to give to this Phillies team here. Right. So we'll start off with, this will be our Sean Bernard Live same-game parlay from a Phillies perspective right here.
Let's get it.
We're starting just Phillies on the money line, -120 straight up. I do think they get the win. Going over to the pitcher props here, Chrissy Sanchez, and I like the strikeout number a lot. So the number as on DraftKings Sportsbook, you can get over 5.5 for -154 odds. I think we can keep pushing that. We're looking at 7+ for +121, 8+ for 221. I think that's where we're locking it. We're getting 8 Ks out of Chrissy Sanchez. I do think he deals tonight. I think there's a non-zero chance that he is in the double digits, which you can get for +790. Might take a swing on that individually as well. But for the sake of the parlay, we're locking in 7 strikeouts or 8 strikeouts for Chrissy Sanchez there. Then let's take a look at the batter props. Is there anybody offhand that jumps off to you, Jared?
Odds wise, they're never too good for hits, but I like Bader. I think he goes out, first playoff game at the bank. I think he gets a hit.
I like that. I'm a big fan of the total bases personally.
Okay.
So we could look for the 2+ for Bader, which that's getting us, let's see, for Harrison Bader on the 2+, as I try and find him here and cannot. I'm probably sitting like +115 would be my guess.
+200 on FanDuel.
+214 I'm seeing on DraftKings. Wow, okay. Bader. Those are lower numbers, so it definitely has not hit Shohei very well. We're going to stay away from this. I think we're going smart. Let's go right back to what our guy Luke Arcaini stared us with in the first place. That would be the man Bryce Harper himself. We go 2+ bases for Bryce Harper, can get +118. That brings us to +900 odds. I think we keep this simple. We go Chrissy Sanchez deals. Bryce Harper hits at least a double, could be a home run. We still cash, and Phillies win +900. I'm 100% cool with that.
I like it.
All right, I'm locking that in as our Sean Bernard Live same game parlay for the Phillies versus Dodgers NLDS Game 1. Now, I have a little speech for this Phillies team right here. And I'm going to put a little background to it. Let's get ultra fired up here. This Phillies team has been to the mountaintop a couple times now. Have not gotten over it. This Phillies team has a lot of changes coming this offseason one way or another. Kyle Schwarber, free agent. Nick Castellanos, who knows what happens. Zach Wheeler coming off a blood clot. There are questions to be asked. Harrison Bader, what's next? But now's the chance. Now's the chance to win a World Series. You win one World Series, and nobody cares what happens after that. You can sign Kyle Schwarber for $600 million per year for all I care. If there is a World Series that goes down, this has to be the year that they put it together. This has to be the year that this business-like approach that has transferred itself all the way, all through the regular season, has to carry right into the playoffs. There cannot be talks of jumping in the Arizona Diamondbacks pool if we go and take care of business. There cannot be these look-ahead spots of if we win this opening series, the job is done. No. The foot has to stay on the gas from start to finish. It felt like this Phillies team was the fun story, the fun team with no expectations, that they burst onto the scene, made it to a World Series in their first playoff appearance when nobody really expected that to be the case. This is now one of the best teams in baseball, and it's time for them to prove that they're the best team in baseball. There will not be a better opportunity than this year. This team has taken adversity. Trey Turner has been hurt. Zach Wheeler has a blood clot, has not slowed down this team. It's got to be this year, and I think it's going to be.
What a hell of a promo. I'm ready for the game right now.
There we go.
Let's get it.
Let's run through the wall.
Yes, sir.
So that's what y'all want to see, huh?
I want a Bryce Harper moment like that of him walking out there. And to his credit, Bryce Harper has been unbelievable. By the way, the ESPN article dropped the 25 most dangerous hitters in the playoffs.
Not on there.
Bryce Harper not making that list.
Disrespectful.
Are we serious here? Is this? Are we missing something? Like, this is Bryce Harper is Mr. Clutch from playoff perspective. So I'm all in. I'm fired up. I do think they get the job done, and I do think things are different this year.
Yes, sir.
Jared, I appreciate you joining with me today. Do you have any final thoughts on the show before we get ready to skirt off here?
Go Phillies. Let's make it this year, man. I'm very excited to watch these Phillies play, and I want to go to a parade at the end of October. I really do. So let's make it this year.
100%. We got one for the Eagles. Hopefully one more for the Phillies. I don't think we have quite as clear of path for a Sixers one, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. But I appreciate you guys all for hanging with us right here on Fox Sports The Gambler. Welcome back to the Sean Barnard Live Show. We're going to be doing this every 11 a.m. moving forward here, and got plenty more to get into. I'll be right in the mix as basketball steps into center stage. Still going to be tackling things and everything in between in the sports world. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure to keep it locked right here on Fox Sports The Gambler. Coming up next, we have the pregame show for Villanova's pregame broadcast and the broadcast itself going over to these very airwaves. So make sure to keep it locked. We got a full day of content coming out, and we'll be back to talk with you next week. Peace.
Our 2025 iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One.
Streaming only on Hulu.
Right now.
Jelly Roll! Hi, this is Ed Sheeran.